Welcome team to the online session on cumulative flow diagrams. As part of this, we will be taking 7 cumulative flow diagram examples. That means we will be learning the concept of cumulative flow diagram using the practical ground scenarios. Let me tell you, my friends, why I have taken this topic. Today, on the ground, what is happening if it is a sprint, right? Now, at the beginning of the sprint payload is given, certain times the full payload is given, certain times partial sprint backlog related user stories are given, certain times the user stories are getting added during the sprint, even though it is an anti-pattern for the suggested agile standards. At the end, it is proving to be that the technical team did not do, or the entire team that consists of product as well did not deliver the expected or accepted the user stories. So what is happening is we do not know what has happened in this process. Okay, is it that product has delayed some of the user stories because they have certain dependencies? Or is it because the technical team is assigned with many user stories during the sprint that has derailed our commitment to meet the sprint goal? Or is it because the technical team was lazy during the initial days of sprint and later on they picked up? Because of that, the payload is not getting delivered. So this kind of picture within the sprint is not getting visible. Not only the sprint, if you take the product roadmap also, for example, if we are wishing to deliver a product in 10 sprints, let's say, now we are not sure how the things are happening. All the times what we know is these many user stories are pending to be delivered. That's the only thing that we know. But what is not visible is it that new user stories are getting added, or certain user stories are getting deleted, or what is happening to the entire churn? So we are not getting the visibility into it. So because of this, what is happening is that agile teams are in the orbit of rotating in their own iterations. The iteration can be sprint, or it can be within the releases and all. But ultimately, the truth, or the clues, like what is happening, why something is not getting delivered, how the flow is flowing through various iterations are happening, we are not aware. Because of this, what is happening is we are unable to take right decisions. We are unable to spot the real problems. This is where cumulative flow diagram helps us. It helps us in terms of understanding how the flow is flowing. The flow of user stories are flowing through different phases, different Kanban phases, right? And so that we will understand different cues, data points about how the whole sprint development or product development or a release development is happening. Okay, on this, let us take this cumulative flow diagrams in more detail. Okay, let me share my screen. As part of this session, we will be learning what is cumulative flow diagram, how to draw cumulative flow diagram, and 7 case examples of cumulative flow diagram, where we will learn how to interpret and how to identify the bottlenecks. Okay, first of all, let us take a case of a sprint. Let us assume that we are on the sprint planning day, where 10 user stories the team have taken after the sprint planning is done. They have committed to this, and the duration is 10 days, and the sprint start date is 14th November 2022 and sprint end date is 25th November 2022. So what is that we are doing is each user story has to flow through different Kanban phases. For example, at the high level, once the definition of ready user stories are provided by the product, then it gets onto the development queue where the developers will analyze and do a proper design, and then they build and they do a proper coding, and then they do unit testing, and ultimately they get it reviewed by their peer developer, and then they will hand it over to QA. Now the tester will do functional testing, integration testing, regression testing, performance testing, and all sanity testings or non-functional testing also he will do. Once the QA tester is reasonably convinced that I'm fine with this particular feature, then it will move on to user acceptance queue, where the product owner will do the user acceptance testing to see whether each user story has met the respective acceptance criteria or not. And then if all the acceptance criteria are met, then he will actually accept that feature and it will go to done deployment status. So where done means it will go and it will get into the DevOps queue, and they will actually deploy it and they say they are done. So basically, if you see the flow is development queue. First is DOR ready, definition of ready, user stories are ready. Second is development. Next one is QA testing. Next one is user acceptance testing. And the done state is our deployment status, and that is the final queue. So if you see, the beautiful thing that we are carving here is we are trying to bring Kanban within the sprint. Right? So there is a Scrum. At the heart of Scrum, that means at the heart of the sprint, we are trying to bring Kanban flow. Why? We wanted to see how user story flows through different phases or phase gates, and this is how the Kanban tracks. And now these phases are called Kanban phases, and we are trying to gauge these Kanban phase gates so that how respective user stories are flowing through different phase gates we can understand. Right? So there are 10 user stories we have taken, a 10 business day sprint we have taken, 2-week sprint. Okay. Now, what is cumulative flow diagram? Cumulative flow diagram is a visual diagram that tells us how the respective user stories, that means all these 10 user stories, are flowing through the different phase gates, right? The definition of ready, development, QA testing, user acceptance testing, and done or deployment. On the x-axis, it will have time units. The time units can be days if you are considering a sprint. And if you are considering a roadmap, a release, then on the x-axis, it can have sprints. On the y-axis, it will have total stories or cumulative stories, right? It's always have cumulative stories. For example, if you see here, there are 10 stories we have signed up. Now, if you see here, total 10 will be there. At any given day, what are the total features that are there in your queue, irrespective of DOR ready, development, QA testing, user acceptance testing, and deployment? What are the total features that are there is what it tracks. So it takes the total features that we have signed up, and then it adds up, right? And it adds up and it shows on x-axis time units and y-axis the total or cumulative scope. It can be stories or it can be features. Okay, and it basically helps us analyze various patterns, and thus it helps us in making effective decisions. Let us understand these things in detail. Okay, let us take one case, first case. For example, here if you see, there are 10 days, like 14th November of sprint has started, and definition of ready stories are 10. And on that day, our developers, QA testing, user acceptance testing, and deployment, nothing is done. So basically, if you see, total features are 10. Now, if you see 15th November, 3 stories are pulled into development queue by the developer. and rest all 0. So it is only 3 here development, and so 7 features are here in devo ready status. Again, please understand, all the time the total features that are there that team has committed comes into picture. So 7 plus 3 is 10. Now on 16th November, the developers have completed the task. The QA testing, they are pulling it to their queue. So three features are here, and developers have taken 5 features, and 1 feature is being under user acceptance testing. So if you see here, 1 is user acceptance testing, 1 plus 3, 4, 4 plus 5, 9, 9 plus 1, 10. That means user acceptance testing are 1, QA testing is 3, 1 plus 3, 4, 4 plus development 5, 9, 9 plus 1, 10. Friends, we have to see here from right to left. Okay. So now on 17th November, all the devo ready stories, they have been pushed into respective queues. Now, 1 is deployed. That's why we are saying done. 1 feature is under user acceptance testing. 3 features are in QA testing. 5 features are in development, and 0 features are on definition of ready state. So likewise, the pattern how these these features, 10 features, like these are the 10 features, and any given day, total features that you have signed up will be there, and those 10 features, how they are flowing through different phase gates of Kanban, we will understand within the sprint. Okay. Now let's see how we are building a cumulative flow diagram. First, as is the same table, whatever data that you observe, the same data will be there here. Now these actual numbers will be we will be transforming into cumulative numbers. Okay. Now let's say I have taken an example of 17th November. Now this cumulative number, because we have to draw cumulative flow and cumulative stories on any given day. How we do a counting is we go right to left. For example, on 17th November. Okay. Now if you see actual numbers, 0 stories are on devo ready state, 5 stories are in development status, 3 stories are in QA testing, 1 story is in user acceptance testing, and 1 story has deployed or done. Now total is 10. This is actual numbers. Now we have to transform into cumulative numbers. How? We have to come right to left. First, in done, we have 1 number. So 1. So in done, 1 number will put it. Now, user acceptance testing. So 1 is done, and then user acceptance testing is another 1. So 1 plus 1 is 2. So user acceptance testing, we say 2. Why? This 2 has a number of done 1 plus user acceptance testing 1. So 1 plus 1 is 2. Now we will say QA testing. How come QA testing is 5? You will ask here, hurry boss, QA testing here is 3, and how come you are putting 5? This is a cumulative number. How? First is we will add done, okay, done 1, user acceptance testing another 1, 2 plus 3, 2 plus 3, 5, right to left. So here is 5. Now if you see development is 5. So we don't put 5 here. So now let's say right to left. 1 is done, 1 plus 1, 2, 2 plus 3, 5. For these 5, for these cumulative numbers 5, we will add the current number 5. So 10. So there is no Q here in 0. So again, the total number accumulated so far is 10. 10 plus 0, 10. So what are we doing? We are trying to build a pillars. First pillar is done. On top of that, we will try to build user acceptance number. On top of that, QA testing. On top of that, development. On top of the definition of ready. So that, you always have the control on 10 features, and your top feature will be, on the definition of ready. That is this blue picture. And this amber is development, and QA testing is a gray. And this yellow portion is user acceptance testing, and the done phase is light blue. So what are we doing here? We are trying to build on any given day. First, we will have a cumulative histogram. Bottom one is right side one, the done. Then on top of that, we add user acceptance testing. On top of that, QA testing. On top of that, development. On top of that, definition of ready. Thereby, we will have control on all the features that we have signed up as of that day. And we know what, where is what. Now you'll ask me, why should done will be at the bottom? Because you know what? In a Kanban phases, bottom phase is done, right? So first we'll say done. We'll count one here. So this one is coming here. Then user acceptance testing one. So this user acceptance testing one, we have to erect on top of done. So we have to build on top of one. That's why 1 plus 1 is 2. So this 2 number is having a one of the done state number also. Now on top of the cumulative number of done and user acceptance testing, that is 1 plus 1, 2, we have to erect QA testing of 3. So 2 plus 3, 5. And then on top of that, development 5, 10. On top of that, 0 of definition of ready. Let us see here on 17th November. Now, this is what the light blue is, the one number that consists of the development part. And then on top of that, another one. So this is what is another one. On top of the 3. So this is 3. The gray number is QA testing 3. Okay. And then on top of that 5. So see 17th November, 5 here, 5. So if you see this line, done is 1, UAT testing is 1, QA testing is 3, development is 5, and there are no user stories in Dev or queue. So there is nothing. So likewise, every day you will build it. For example, if you wanted to build for 14th November, okay, done is 0. So there is no light blue color. User acceptance testing is 0. So no amber color. And QA testing is 0, no gray color. But developer is 0, so no amber, this amber color. And then there is 10. All 10 are in thick blue, which represents the Dev ready queue. This is what it is. So total 10. Similarly, if you say 16th November, let's 16th November, 0 are done. Okay, 0 done. And then 1 user acceptance testing. So we will build 1 on top of that. User acceptance testing, which is in yellow. Then 3 in QA testing phase. Okay. And then there's a 5 in, right? We are talking about 15th November. 16th November. I am repeating. One in user acceptance testing. So I'm repeating. Let us consider how it comes for 16th November. So 16th November, 0 undone. So 0. So there is no light blue. 1 is in user acceptance testing. See here, 1 user acceptance testing. And then 3 in QA status. There's a 3 in QA status. And then 5 in development. See 5 in development. And then 1 in DOR state. 1 in DOR state. Thick blue. So this is how this particular graph is built. You can use Excel. Once you prepare these cumulative numbers, I have detailed explanation here. With this explanation, if you build this graph using Excel, you can build it. However, you also have tools like version 1, Rally, and Jira. They can as well build it, these graphs for you for ready-made. But it is always better to know, the genesis or the math of how we can build it so that everything will be in our control. Okay, this is how we can draw a cumulative flow diagram. So the numbers, whatever we see here, the actual numbers are here, and it will get transformed to the cumulative flow diagram. So total stories will be on the y-axis. On the x-axis, time units will be there, and various colors talk about the deep color, the deep blue color or thick blue color talks about DO ready story. The amber is development. The QA testing is gray. User acceptance testing is yellow, and light blue is done features. Okay, this is how we can draw cumulative flow diagram. Now, let's talk about how to interpret this graph. Okay, now let's talk about how do we interpret this graph. Okay, so if you see here this graph in development, files are there: 16th, 17th. 16th November, 17th November, 18th November, 21st November, 22nd November, because 19th November and 20th November are Saturdays and Sundays. That is the reason why we don't have those 2 days, right? The sprint starts on Monday, ends on following Friday. So all are 5s here. That means the development is continuously having 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. Why it is having like this, right? So if the development is having continuously 5, that means it can be a signal saying that these user stories are not properly analyzed, or is it that the developers have identified new bottlenecks, or is it because there are impediments that are blocking those user stories, and is it because our developers are not very serious in the initial days? That is the reason why they are continuously having 5 user stories. For example, if you see here, there is a 0 number here. That means whatever stories they picked up here, those are continuously in their bucket. They're not able to push. Or is it because the QA is not pulling it? Right? There can be n number of reasons. And now, if you see here the QA, there is one day on 22nd November where QA does not have any work. It is 0. Similarly, if you see user acceptance testing, even though we are pushing the numbers, the queue of user acceptance testing is actually piling up. It is only on the final day they are able to close major feature from user acceptance testing point of view, right? And if you see the done, that means deployment phases where our DevOps members will take their one feature they have deployed, and ultimately all the features they deploy on the final day. So there's a heavy push on them. So if they push every feature to the production on the final day, what happens is there can be quality issues, right? So why they are doing like this? Maybe because the user acceptance testing is not taking properly, right? So there are several anti-patterns we have identified. First pattern is why the developers are not completing 5 stories, or why the QA is not pulling the dev completed stories into their queue. Is it that user stories are properly sized? Are there large stories? Is the analysis done properly? Or several questions will actually come from this pattern. Similarly, QA testing 0. There is no day. This is called, this is a point of concern for us. And then user acceptance testing, we can clearly say that product, they are not serious in the initial days. It is piling up in their queue. They're only completing majority of their work towards the last, right? So this also is there. And then finally the DevOps, they are actually completing their work on the last day. What if some quality issues will come? It will impact our ability to reach the end users, right? So this is what it is. Okay, now let's talk about how the cumulative flow diagram shows this, right? If you see here, this is the thick blue is due already, right? All the stories are getting pushed into the work in progress. For example, development or QA testing or user acceptance testing and done status towards the right side on 17th November. This is what you see here, 17th November 0. Till 16th November, you have certain numbers. So till 16th November, you have one number. On 17th November, it is 0. Now, what is happening? The development queue, the amber one, 0, 0. This is the flow. And you see here, this is 9 and this is 4. 9 minus 4, 5. And if you see here, it is 10, it is 5. 10 minus 5, 5. And it is continuously like this for 5 days. So it talks about why these many features are here. And then if you see the current the testing, now the testing is good and it is narrowing down. And you know what? There is no work here. This is called starving point. The starving point is where the testers don't have any work on 22nd November. You see, they're not properly loaded. They don't have proper work. They're only working towards last 3 days. See, this is what our QA testers will tell, right? We want the development completed features well upfront. Don't give all the dev completed features towards final days. Our developers, our testers will be, complaining, talking about these impediments during stand-up, and developers won't listen. Or even if they listen, they have their own situations. But the moment this kind of visual tool is published, everybody will be exposed. The development team has to explain why 5 features continuously for 5 days from 16th November till 22nd November, they're not able to complete. They have to give explanation for this because they are the people here. They are for 5 consecutive days, the flow is stuck here. And then the UAT, if you see here, is picking up, and in the final days it picked up. For example, if you see from 24th November to 25th November, they picked up. Thank God they have accepted these features. What if in their user acceptance testing, which they carry forward on 24th November and 25th November, that is day 9 and day 10 of sprint, if they don't accept, what will happen? Is it the fault of technical team? Is it the fault of QA team? If they identify mistakes towards the end, who takes responsibility? See, at the end of the day, sprint completion is not only the responsibility of development team. If the definition of done includes pushing the features to production, then product also have to do their UAT parallelly, right? So there's a problem here. But thank God in this kind of a scenario, right? The deployment team, there is DevOps team, they stretched and they pushed it, right? So there are 4 concerns. First, why consistently 5 features are there for 5 days in development queue? That's a point of concern. Second, there's a starving point for QA team. There are no features. There is no work on 22nd November. And why user acceptance testing is not progressing at the expected level. And I think the DevOps has stretched in the last and they pushed it. They made it. They stretched, right? Luck is on their side. None of the features were backfired in production while deployment. None of the features were not rejected in the user acceptance testing. What if some risks or some issues we see in the process? We will be ending up not meeting the sprint goal, and the business will be ending in terms of not delivering the software to the end customers, right? So this kind of insights the cumulative flow diagram gives. Okay, let me go to the second. This is another example. Now, if you see here, on 14th November, we signed up for 10 features and 2 features got added. See, the total feature count is coming to 12. Even though definition of ready features is 9, but if you accumulate 9 plus 3 is 12. So 2 features got added from 14th November to 15th November. How cumulative flow diagram gives is 10 to 12 it has gone. Work got added by day 2. And then what happens? They deducted some features out of your sprint backlog. The total features are coming from 12 to 8. Even though the numbers are looking like this, the total 1 plus 3 plus 3 plus 1 is actually 8. So these things actually on the ground, they will not be noticed, my friends. I'm telling you, this kind of gimmicks, nobody notices. What people will tell is technical team did not deliver. That's what they tell, right? But we need to quantify that, especially when you are dealing with certain partners who are very picky on everything, who goes beyond the trust line. You need to be very, very careful in terms of the data representation, in terms of what is happening, right? So there is 2 stories got added here, 4 stories got deleted here. That's what the second point is telling, right? And then if you see here, the development is consistently at 3, if you see. So if you see here, it is 3 here. Now from 7 minus 4, 3 here. And it is 8 minus 4, 3. So continuously 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days, development is having 3. Why? Why are they not able to push it to QA? Why QA is not able to take the work? Is it because developers are taking more time, or developers are having impediment, or QA team is not able to pull it? Is it because they are on leave? I don't know. So net, what is happening is on 22nd November, there is a starving point. That is a point of 0 work for QA. We are not utilizing their work. And then what is happening? The UAT is going on the final day, they progress it. Again, there is a steep, and people have stretched it. Both developers have stretched it, sorry, testers have stretched it, product has stretched it, and the DevOps. So who are the people who are very busy towards the final? It is the testers, it is the product who does the UAT, and the DevOps resources who deploy. But our developers, no, they happily took their own sweet time, and they are pushing the load on testers. Is it fair? How long it continued? And what it resulted? It resulted in one thing, right? It resulted in terms of whatever you committed total for 12, and then again it has come to 8. Okay, now compared to initial estimate, we did not deliver, right? So these many features, these many insights, this particular graph or this particular case and this particular cumulative flow diagram is talking. Now I'm not representing the data here because I have provided you the data for 2 cases. Directly we will go and analyze different patterns of cumulative flow diagram here. If you see here, 14th November, 10 features, total 10 features are there. The team is very good. On the first day itself in development, let's go from here. It is the gray is QA testing. So they have 2 features on QA testing, and 4 features are in development queue, and 3 features are in the dev or ready status. That means here 0 to 2 QA, 2 to 7. That means 7 minus 2, 5. 5 features are in development queue, and 10 minus 7. This is 10. 10 minus 7 is 3. These 3 features are in definition of ready state. That means product have done everything. It is for the team to pick it up. Now the team has done a great job. They made several starts. That means they just make sure that all the work that is prioritized for them, everything is in progress now. Now in the second day itself, you see everything is in progress. There is no ticket or story which is in a ready state. Now if you see here by 15th November, 5 stories are in QA testing phases, and 5 stories are in development phases. Okay, so what is happening? Lot of work in progress. It is just moving on, right? And then you start delivering to UAT slowly, and believe me, whatever is deployed is this much work. You committed for this much work. You made several starts. That means instead of taking things to closure, instead of making user stories to finish, you started all the user stories very early in the game. So that is the result is you have lots of work in progress for many days. And then UAT has started, and the work in progress is more. Ultimately, there is low work that got deployed. So you committed for 10 features, you have only given for 2 features in production. Is it good? It is up to you. You think about it. So these kind of insights, unless you show this kind of pattern, people cannot understand this, right? People will, these things, these traits of everyday what people will do, whether they started many things instead of taking user stories to finish line, those things, unless you have a visual representation like this, they can't be traced, they can't be tracked, and so your retrospectives cannot be genuine, and hence your decision making may not be proper. Okay, now I'm going to 4th case, right? You see here what's happening. Now you see 14th November sprint has started, 25th November sprint has closed, and suddenly the total count is increasing from 10 to 12. On which day? 21st November. That is day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and on 6th day, there is an addition of work to the team. Is it right? See, friends, I'm telling you, this is how, the people, whoever adds the work, or people, whoever accepts the work within the team, they will be unnoticed. Ultimately, it is shown as, you delivered less work compared to what you have agreed. Whether you agreed for 10 features or 12 features or 13 features, we don't know. At the end picture is, see, 13 features is what you are supposed to deliver, but you have only given 6 features. So this much of incomplete work. See, if you see the pattern here, 10 features initially you committed. Those 10 itself you have not delivered. You only delivered 6. See, the light blue here, done features, deployed features is 6. So 10 itself, initially you agreed for 10. Those 10 itself you have not delivered. How come you can accept more? How can product owner can give more work for us? It is for the people to think about it. And not only this, there are starving point. That means point of zero work. If you see here, this particular amber, this is development. On this day of 18th November, the developers don't have any work. There's no flow properly happening. Similarly, on 17th November, there is no work for QA. So something seriously wrong happening, right? So this is at net, this is the incomplete work. We delivered quite low compared to initial 10 stories itself or after accepting 13 stories itself. So we did not stand up to commitment. Why we are having 0 stories in the development queue and testing queue on respective days? I'm asking, don't you think these are the problems that you see in your day-to-day situation? Do you think that you need a tool of this to expose these things so that you can make the respective party, respective person accountable for this kind of uncomfortness within the team? We need it. This is where the cumulative flow diagram helps us. Now let's take another case. Okay. Now this is another case, my friends. If you see here, now we have committed for total 10 features. On the next day, it is going to 12. That means 2 features got added here. And then again, total count is coming down to 9. That means 1 feature down. So work gets added, deleted, added, deleted. Again, just before 1 day before the sprint, that is on 24th November, the work gets added. It is actually going from 12 to 16. On what basis product owner can add 4 features 2 days before the sprint? 2 days before the sprint closure. Think about it, my friends. Think about it. Are these not the routine problems you experience? Just because we are not able to, just because we are not able to, expose them, people are uncaught. And because of which, at the end of the day, we are not able to deliver what we expect or what we have committed. So now if you see here, again, point here, if you see here, this the gray line is coming to 0. This is a starving point. No work for QA here. Again here, no work. And here, developers also don't have work. Oh God, they don't have developers. This amber line is also coming to 0. The gray line is also coming to 0. This is a point of starving points, right? So something is seriously going wrong. And then at the end of the day, there is incomplete work. And this work is not delivered. And only this much part we have delivered. So do you think that these uncomfortnesses, these adjustments where work gets added, deleted, or developers don't have work just because they have not done proper sprint planning, or because we don't have right people, or QA don't have proper work? Do you think that we can deliver with this kind of traits within the team? And then everybody will say, oh yeah, agile is not working here. People are very conveniently put blame on something that is safe for them, right? So at the end of the day, now we have to show this to the respective people in retrospective and say, guys, if you keep on adding and deleting, this is what happens. And we end up delivering 4 stories. So this is not right. Okay, let's go to case 6. Then you can ask, what should be the ideal cumulative flow diagram? Okay, we have understood 4 cases where different problems are there. Now, what will be the ideal cumulative flow diagram? The ideal cumulative flow diagram is like this. See here what is happening. Now there are 20 features team have signed up, out of which first day 2 features are in testing, 2 features are in development. And if you see, the 2 count is consistently the same, almost. You see here developers, they're consistently the same. And you believe me, what they're doing is there's a work that is not started until there is a capacity. Like developers, once they take the item to 2 items, they push it to QA team push it to UAT, and UAT team push it to DevOps. So this is happening right from 15th November, that is day 2 onwards. So work is not started unless there is a capacity. That means team is focused more on taken items into finish line before taking up a new item. So it may look like, guys, we are taking less amount of work. Yes, focus on few will always help you. For example, you see work in progress. You see what is work in progress? That means 2 items are in development queue, 2 are in QA queue, and probably 3 items are here in the UAT. So any given time you take the work in progress. That means work in progress means after the developers have started their work till it is deployed. That is called work in progress. So the work in progress, it's called WIP limit, the vertical line here. Okay, the vertical line here, that is always minimum to the extent possible compared to other scenarios that we have taken. And cycle time is also short. For example, if you see here, what is cycle time? Cycle time is right from developer has taken a user story, development started, till we push it to production. That is called cycle time. So cycle time is also short here. Here, if you see here, this feature come here, right? This feature come here. So cycle time is also very short. And then there is a greater completion here. There's a greater completion here, right? And people are expecting feature not at the end of the sprint, but from the 2nd day onwards, so 3rd day onwards, they're seeing those live features in production. So this is how the ideal CFD should start. Focus on few, bring them to the next stage. If you are in development, push it to QA. If you are in QA, push it to user acceptance testing. If you are in user acceptance testing, push it to deployment and done status. Focus on few. This will always help you. So it may look like major work is not started. That's okay. But ultimately, you are achieving a greater result here. That too very comfortably. This is how ideal cumulative flow diagram should look like. Okay. Now, so far we have applied the cumulative flow diagram to sprints. Now let us apply to product roadmap. That means the entire landscape of production. Okay. Now how it looks like. Okay. If you see here, let's say 10 sprints work. A product got developed in 10 sprints. Now, if you see here, the total user stories are 200, or you can think as story points as well. So from 200, during sprint 3, 40 story points or 40 stories got added. And then again, some 20 user stories or 20 story points got decreased. And then it is consistently going on. So many a times during product deployment, right, we will not be able to show how many stories got added, how many stories got deleted. We will not be able to show that. What people will be concerned about is when I will get the features. But whether the features are, due or ready or not. For example, if you see here, I've changed the naming convention. The thick green is backlog. The grooming is, wherever the grooming is happening is in amber. The gray line is in progress. That means your development in QA. And then yellow line is user acceptance testing. And the thick line, the light blue here is deployed. Right? Now, the point is, if you see the beauty here, it talks about any given point in time. I have 200 features here, out of which 200 minus 50, 150 features are in backlog status. That means I have not groomed them. They are not definition of ready. How many user stories are definition of ready on the day one? So around 25 to 50, around 25 stories are ready for me. And team has picked up another 25 stories. So 25 people are working on it. they are in progress. 25 stories are available for the team to be picked up in the coming sprint, and 150 features, they are not yet groomed. So if you see here, there'll be pressure on product. How come these stories can be on the backlog status? I have to convert them into grooming or ready for development status as soon as possible. I have to increase this amber band, right? So there'll be pressure on them. And also you are visually representing how the product is converting backlog user stories to groomed user stories, and how the technical team is converting the groomed stories into the development, and how the product team is converting the QA signed off stories of this gray band to yellow, that is the user acceptance testing, and how the DevOps team is managing time to time from sprint to sprint. So it gives great insights. First, it talks about lead time. Friends, I'm introducing the word lead time here. Lead time is when right from a feature is added to a backlog till the time it has touched the production. That's the lead time. Whereas cycle time is right when a developer has picked up. There is a change, like lead time and cycle time. So a feature, once it gets added, it has to be groomed, and then only the developer will accept. So lead time is always greater than cycle time, right? Cycle time is when a developer picks up user stories, right from development started till it is deployed. That's cycle time. Whereas lead time is right from the feature is added to backlog till it is pushed to production. That's called lead time. So how the lead time is happening at different phases of this graph, how the cycle time is happening from different phases of the graph. Is the lead time is more, is cycle time is more, and at any given point in time, what is my work in progress? What is my work in progress? Right from work in progress, you can think about right from a story is picked up by the developer till it is pushed to production. You can always see the vertical bar. The work in progress for user acceptance testing, you can see the work in progress for development, the work in progress for the product for grooming user stories. So you can see the trend, and you can also explain to the stakeholders, we are not able to meet because of the product has not converted the user stories into groomed user stories. The ready for development user stories are not available for us. Because of this, we are not able to, kickstart the development. And because of that, we are not able to deliver you the minimum viable product. Believe me, in many scenarios, it is the final technical team who will be questioned. But whether the product has done proper job, whether the people who provide inputs to product, like I don't want to blame product also. The product, they depend upon certain stakeholders to provide input. Whether they have given the inputs properly or not, those things will not be visible. People will come for a review meeting and they will say, when will be my first release? The release got delayed by 3 months, 4 months. If this is how it happens, what can I do? All these chaos will come. If you have cumulative flow diagram at the product roadmap level, it will actually expose who is taking more time and what are the possible reasons. And thereby, you can actually control the whole product roadmap. You are actually having a visual representation of the flow of different features through their different phase gates like backlog, grooming, in progress, user acceptance testing, and deployed. And how the flow is happening, you will have a view and you're able to represent it to the stakeholders, and everybody, by just looking at the graph, they will take their own points. Oh God, this actually is taking more time because of me or because of my team. I have to address this. So this kind of analysis will come, and this cumulative flow diagram at the product roadmap level, not only for one team, but entire program also you can develop. And that will give a beautiful picture for the stakeholders, especially the CXOs. They will derive, if this is how the flow goes, how long it will take. For example, if the product has not completed, out of 10 sprints, only 7 sprints work are done. Now they can actually predict, okay, so far 70% work is done, and to get another 30%, how much time, how many sprints I will take, also they will have their own perception. They can project, right? This way everybody will take an informed decision. Like there will be certain scenarios wherein the CXOs will come and say, I have given a commitment to end stakeholders saying that the product will be ready by next sprint, and guys, you have to work upon. And then you say, how come you have given that statement? Yeah, I asked for risk, you did not give, so I have to give that date. So that option is ruled out. So now you have to deliver next sprint, and that will provide unnecessary pressure. And the moment you put unnecessary pressure, even the expected productivity also you won't get it, right? So these kind of scenarios will be there. So if you have cumulative flow diagram, time to time, within sprint or sprint to sprint or release to release, you will have beautiful representation of how the lead time is going, cycle time is going, work in progress is going, how the user story is getting added, how the user stories are flowing through different phase gates of backlog, grooming, in progress, user acceptance testing, and deployed status. And you will have real control on different phase gates. So friends, I want to tell you today, when we are implementing Scrum, we are enabling people, okay, on the sprint beginning day, we will give you a sprint backlog. On the sprint final day, you will have to give me the work for the demo. You have to demonstrate the user stories completion at the sprint beginning day. And in between, we are not observing how things are happening. But just because we are not observing many scenarios that can be impediment, that can be certain people, they're not able to play those 15 days properly. If you have cumulative flow diagram that depicts the sprint picture or the release picture or the whole product roadmap picture, that actually makes everybody focus on the realities, the real outcomes, that how the flow is happening, and that will answer many questions that the team is facing today. Okay, so what did we learn so far? Okay, let's reflect on it. First thing is, cumulative flow diagram is a visual lean tool that depicts the flow of backlog items through their Kanban phases. Like that means, backlog, definition of ready status, development, QA, testing, user acceptance testing, and deployment or done status. And we can identify several bottlenecks or anti-patterns by analyzing the flow. We have taken 7 case studies, right? And each of the case study, we have understood several patterns, okay, that are concerning. And those things will not be visible easily, right? That can be experienceable, but we can't showcase. But the cumulative flow diagram will showcase, will put those bottlenecks exposed. It will bring those bottlenecks visible to everybody. And then we can gauge different metrics like lead time, cycle time, work in progress, time to time, sprint to sprint. Within sprint also we can see. So that we can take informed, realistic, practical decisions, right? And it will help us to make our product reach our goal wisely and effectively, right? When we take right decisions, it will not only help the product, not only help the stakeholders, but also our own team members. They don't need to stretch. It helps in work-life balance. It helps in a proper chemistry, a proper enjoyable experience of being part of a great product development, right? So thus the cumulative flow diagrams, it not only gives insights about what is happening within a sprint, but also about whole overall product roadmap as well, right? So team, let me stop sharing the screen and let me tell you. The reason why I have picked up this topic is today, many teams are rotating in sprints and there's some black box. There's a black box. Like from the sprint beginning till sprint end, there is a black box, right? There may be some impediments. There may be certain third-party dependencies. There may be user stories are getting added. There may be that, developers are not able to bring the stories or push the stories to QAQ. Maybe because they have not analyzed the user stories properly, or maybe because they have not verified their analysis properly, or maybe because they are identifying many tasks during the process of development. We don't know. And then ultimately, it is falling on QA, testers, and also the people who are doing user acceptance testing, and also the deployment. So on the tail end people, right, a lot of pressure is coming, and they are under constant pressure. More importantly, we are not able to tell stakeholders what are the real reasons why something we are not able to meet, why we are not able to meet sprint goals or roadmap related goals, where we have to focus to make the progress. So that particular flow we have to analyze, and cumulative flow diagrams will help us spot those bottlenecks time to time. Not only bottlenecks, but also the patterns also it gives us, so that we can take an informed decisions, and it will help our product development goals and also the sprint goals. With this, I come to the end of this session, and I look forward to have you in my future sessions, where I want to bring more sessions in future. Thank you.